Hi everyone, today we are going to learn about diagonal matrix followed by some of the property of the diagonal matrix, and then finally I will teach you how you can actually calculate the inverse of a diagonal matrix quickly. So stay tuned to the end of the video to find out. So let's start off with what is actually a diagonal matrix. So a diagonal matrix basically is a square matrix. It's a square matrix where all elements are 0 except for elements they are on the diagonal. So what is a square matrix? A square matrix is a n by n matrix. So let's say we have matrix A with row I and column j, and it's a n by n matrix. So it is a diagonal matrix if aij equal to 0 when I is not equal to j. So let's look at some of the example of a diagonal matrix. So let's say we have a 3 by 3 matrix. So we have, let's say, 2, -1, 3 and 0 0 0 0 0 0. So this is a diagonal matrix because all the elements are 0 except for the elements that are on the diagonal. So outside the diagonal, all the elements are actually 0. So this is another example. Let's say we have a 2 by 2 matrix, 3 1 0 0. So outside of diagonal, this is diagonal. Outside of diagonal, the elements are actually 0. So this is called a diagonal matrix. So let's try to see one more example. Let's say we have a 3 by 3 matrix and we have 2 0 5 0 0 0 0 0 0. So is this a diagonal matrix? The answer is yes, because to determine whether a matrix is a diagonal matrix, we first look at whether it's a square matrix, and the answer is yes. And second, we look at outside of the diagonal whether all the elements are 0 or not. So all the elements outside the diagonal is 0. So this element is at the position A12, A13, A21, A23, A21, A31, A32. So when I is not equal to j, the element is 0. So this is a diagonal matrix. So even though the diagonal has a 0, it is also a diagonal matrix because outside the diagonal, the element is 0. So let's move on to the property of a diagonal matrix. So what is the key property of a diagonal matrix? So for a diagonal matrix, let's say A is a diagonal matrix. If A is a diagonal matrix, A will be equal to A transpose. So for example, let's say we have the matrix A, which is 1 2 3, and this is a diagonal matrix. So let's say we want to transpose this. So when we say transpose, we know that the answer will be the same because it is a diagonal matrix. So outside the diagonal, all the elements are 0. So this is one of the key property of a diagonal matrix. So when you transpose, you will get back the same number because you will get back the same matrix because it is the same. For example, A12 and A21 have the same element, and A13 and A31 also have the same element, and A32 and A23 also have the same element. So this is why A equal to A transpose. So let's calculate the inverse of a diagonal matrix quickly. So to remember this, let's say we have a diagonal matrix A. So let's say we have 3 -1 0 0, which is a 2 by 2 matrix, and it's a diagonal matrix because outside the diagonal the elements are 0. So let's say we have this. The inverse of diagonal matrix is 1 over 3 and 1 over -1 0 0. So to remember, the inverse of the diagonal matrix is 1 over A1 0 0, 1 over A2, where matrix A is A1 A2 0 0. Okay, to show this we try to multiply matrix A and A inverse, and we see whether we will get back the same, we will get the identity matrix. So to check out what is actually identity matrix, you can check out my other video in the playlist where I talk about what is actually a identity matrix and also the inverse of a matrix. So let's say we want to check whether or not this works. So let's say we have matrix A 3 0 0 negative 1, and the inverse is 1 over 3, and 1 over negative 1 is negative 1. So let's say we multiply A with the A inverse, and where A is a diagonal matrix, so we will get 3, the first row multiply with the first column, so 3 multiply with 1 over 3 plus 0 multiply with 0, so it's 1. And then the second element, first row multiply with the second column, so it's 3 multiply with 0 plus 0 multiply with negative 1, and second row multiply with first column, so we have 0 multiply with 1 over 3 minus 1 multiply with 0, and the last element is second row multiply with the second column, so 0 multiply with 0 minus 1 multiply with minus 1, so we will eventually get 1 0 0 1. So this is the identity matrix. So we have shown that this is the shortcut way to finding the inverse of a diagonal matrix by using the formula 1 over A1 1 over A2, and you must make sure that where the A1 and A2 are not 0. Otherwise this method cannot be used. And if you want to learn more about similar mathematics topics, you can check out my videos on my playlist. Thank you.